Hi, Mr. Vinay. Welcome to Reboot Retail 1.0. Uh, it's powered by Malls of Globe. And let me give a little brief intro. I'm Yogesh Huja. I'm founder and CEO of Malls of Globe. I would be chairing this session, this webinar. Malls of Globe was established in 2018 to bring digital transformation in the physical retail. We have digitized 370 plus malls in 8 plus countries, over 40,000 plus retail touchpoint integration. There's a lot more available on www.mallsofglobe.com. And today we have Mr. Vinay Hinge, a trusted retail advisor with 30 years plus of industry experience in serving and consulting top brands like Raymond, startup in fashion analytics, food supply chain, and more. He sits on the technical committee of Retailers Association of India, which is RAI. Building personalization and strong consumer experience in the retail is his core forte. Today we will learn from him and we will understand the aspects of what retail is going through and exactly what is required from the thought leaders and industry experts. So before I discuss with you and Vinay, I go ahead. I'll just set up a pretext that why this webinar and why we are titling it as Reboot Retail 1.0. We all know that physical retail is badly hit in this COVID pandemic. And if a shop is shut down or the shutter is down, I'm sure physical retailers cannot serve their customers. So, in this pretext, when retailers are finding it tough to adopt the digital methodologies, the retailers in return have impacted the real estate industry big time because that's where the hit is coming. The entire ecosystem has gone for toss, and when the old strategies and plans are failing to work, we think it's time to reboot. So the today's theme is structured into three categories. The current challenges, what are happening, that we would be talking a little bit. The new strategies for the offline retailers, and disruption and tech adoption, how it is working for the e-tailers and stuff like that. So coming to you, Mr. Vinay, I'm just putting across the first key question and the problem of the industry, that what problem you see with the retailers in this pandemic hit world.
Yeah. Thank you, Yogesh, for inviting me to this forum and giving me opportunity to share my thoughts. Okay. So as you are rightly said in your context that during this pandemic, the physical retail has been badly hit. Okay. And naturally, when you are not in a position to open your store, you are not getting your supplies. Okay. You are not able to get your employees to the store, and most importantly, the consumers are not able to even step out of their house. Okay. So these are the factors, okay, which are unprecedented, and it's a black swan event. Okay, it is like say hardly anybody would have like say thought in their wildest dreams that I need to be geared up for this kind of a situation. Okay, so this is come as a shock and as a major disruption to the smallest of the small shop to the biggest of the big chains. Okay, but while doing all these things, okay, one second. So while doing all these things, okay, what is becoming most important is the smallest of the small guys, especially mom and pop stores, or we can call it the kirana stores or the pharmacies. Okay, they have been able to come back to the into the business. Okay, with minimal of damages. Okay,
Right.
and if you see why, because number one is like say the labor is mainly the from the same the owner's family, okay, or they will have only few workers who may be coming from the nearby areas, okay. And secondly, when it's come to the getting the supplies, they have been able to like say if the standard distributors are not able to supply them, they went to the wholesaler, they went to the distributors warehouses, or in some cases their principals, that is the FMCG brands or the pharma brands, they were able to like say create a new channels during this period, to keep on supplying to the standalone stores. Okay.
Right.
Compared to
Right.
this, if you look at the organized retail is because of word organized, that means they work in a very structured mode. Okay. So typically their supply chain lines will be very straightforward, like it's from manufacturer, the goods will come to their DC or distribution center. From there, it will come to the stores, and it will all happen with some kind of a discipline and a formal process. Okay, and when they have to bypass that and do something else, okay, that is a quite a challenging. Okay, and in my opinion, they had another additional challenge was most of these modern retailers, they don't control the real estate or access to the real estate.
Very true.
So
Very true. That's
when
a
you are
very valid point.
yeah, when your house in a mall, let us say, and in the initial part, all the governments, the state governments or municipal corporations, they felt that the it is important to really close the malls, keep malls closed. Even today, like say, I live in a suburb of Mumbai. What happens is in Mumbai the malls have opened, but across the border, like say I live in a Thane, and in Thane the malls are closed because local corporation felt that okay, it is risky
Right.
to open them. Okay,
Right,
now
right, right. This is happening even in Delhi. Malls and everything started very early. The operations of the business started very early, whereas we are in Gurgaon, so which absolutely the same story. Everybody is deciding locally how to come out of this thing.
and what I believe that actually the malls are more disciplined, more organized places. Okay, and they can actually enforce the discipline far more strictly than compared to any high street or like say unorganized bazaar kind of a scenario. Okay,
Right.
okay.
Right. But Vinay, don't you think that there is a competition between the e-tailers, which was there from past a decade, I would say, and already the physical retail was struggling. So what we always have been saying, offline and online retail. So we've been putting verses. Uh, how do you see this ecosystem, and what balances and checks have been, made in this pandemic time? Do you think that because now I think malls are completely shut and Amazon and Flipkarts are booming like anything. So what's your understanding and
So see, if we look at, I will answer this question in two parts. If you look at the competition between the retailers and the organized retailers, okay. So now this competition is being played across for last 10, 12 years now. Okay, it's not a recent development. Okay, and uh, they have been like say actually competing as well as collaborating. Okay,
right,
if you look at any, let's say, fashion brand, uh, majority of the fashion brands you will see they are present on a high street, they are present in the malls, and they are present on the e-tailers platforms also. Okay, and they plus apart from the marketplaces, they will have their own platform for online orders as well. Okay,
correct,
so it is a multi-channel game, and then they are looking at how do they can have a target, what kind of a target audience they want to engage across each of the channel, what kind of a merchandise they would like to push for that each of that channel, okay, and how they would like to have a increased traction in that channel. Okay, so while doing that, the ratio between all from say let's say if I'm a brand and I've got like say these four channels, okay, then what is the ratio of my overall sales across the channels? So the ratio was like say tilted more towards physical retail in the past, okay, and their own online platforms were like say were there, but they were like say maybe single digit sale, like say percentage wise, if a monthly sale is X, maybe just less than 5%, 6% were.
5%, 6%, right?
And
Absolutely right,
during the events, you will see a lot of sale happening on the marketplaces. Okay.
right,
Now, from that, what has happened that the share of the online channels, the marketplaces plus the own platform, if you look at combined, that has now become something like a 70-80% for a lot of brands. Okay.
correct,
And secondly, earlier, if that sale was triggered because of an event like say some marketplace announces this is their biggest day or like that, the way typically in malls also we have a end of season sale kind of events. Okay. From that, it moved to the like say, oh, if you are making something available and you are in a position to deliver, then there are people who are willing to buy. Okay.
Correct.
So it became a, at least in a short term, it became a seller's market. Okay. Compared to the over a period of time, what we have been seeing is the consumer as a king. So consumer is like say, deciding where to buy, what to buy, at what price points to buy. Okay. From that, because of the disruption, the markets momentarily moved to the seller's market. Okay. But and ultimately, once this phase, like as we start the loosening of the lockdown, okay, and the overall supply chains and distribution chains start, like say, really getting adjusted, okay, and to large extent the deliveries are nowadays happening, okay. So from that perspective, I believe that a new equilibrium will be reached, and in the new equilibrium, what we'll see is the online channels contributing as much as the offline channels. Okay.
Okay, now coming to that critical part, when a lot of people have started thinking that we should adopt digital, we should go omni-channel, we should go, how do you see the retailers' mindset in reshaping the consumer experience? Because that there was a time when you walk into a showroom of Levi's or anywhere you were experiencing, and there is a lot of category of product that you experience before you buy, and uh, and today the game is changing. So in this pretext, what you explain, how do you see retailers' mindset and what they need to understand in reshaping the consumer experience? That's the question.
Yeah. So if we look at the certain verticals by size, see, the food and grocery is the largest vertical in the country. Okay. Then comes electronics, and then comes the fashion. Okay. These are the top three verticals, and then pharmacy and other. There is a long tail of the vertical. Okay. So in that whole, like say, vertical by vertical, in food and grocery, ultimately, I think it was a more question of like say, okay, non-buyers becoming buyers. Okay. Hmm. And that transition has happened. Like I believe that at least 30-40% of buyer growth in the regular buyers that has happened in this last 4 5 months. And in normal terms, it would have taken maybe 2 or 3 years to get those numbers, and it would have required all the ecosystem players to maybe spend something like a 20,000, 30,000 crores to influence these buyers, non-buyers to become a buyers, okay, by way of a promotions or creating incentives and stuff like that.
Right.
So what pandemic has done is that it created the shift in the buyer's behavior, and the non-believers, they started basically buying the food and grocery, fresh vegetables, fruits online. Okay, so that's one thing. When you look at the electronics was always a category like say was driving the online sales. Okay, and in the pandemic, what happened was, as the physical retailers, their supply chains got disrupted. Lot of things. For example, I saw that wash dishers, okay, uh,
Oh yeah,
dishwashers
went out of stock.
uh, they became out of stock, and only the online retailers were in a position to take the orders and deliver. Okay,
Right.
and and then it was like say maybe a laptops, or it may be a new mobile phones or the
Right.
accessories, etc. So this
Right.
work from home concept has driven the electronics. Okay, so
Right.
I believe that electronics will continue to grow in the online. Okay,
Correct.
fashion has been a one major area where there are very small fraction which was comfortable buying online. Okay, and in the past, if you look at maybe a year ago or 2 years ago,
Hmm.
some of the fashion websites, they started offering people even a trial at home. Or while if you don't know your size, they will send you like say extra two, like say plus minus size.
Right.
So idea was to give you that kind of experience. Like say, so you can keep what you like, and what you don't like, you can return back. Okay.
Right. Right.
Now, uh, what has happened is that in the pandemic, now post-pandemic days, since the retailers at their showrooms have have been asked by the government, as well as there is a voluntary compliance of not to have any trial room in the store now. Okay, the trial
Oh.
room is now filled. Okay,
Okay.
so that has created now a level field between the online and offline. You can
Okay.
touch maybe, okay, but you cannot try it out. Okay, and naturally, then if I go to the store, and if I am not able to really try out that, then better I order online. So that's the way
Right.
of thinking that's coming up.
Right.
Secondly, even in the store, people are using a more and more digital technologies. Okay, by having the magic mirrors where you can simply see how you may look like if you wear this shirt and all that.
Right.
So, so that kind of efforts are there. Though I'm not sure whether people are really going to get impressed with those efforts. Okay,
Right. Right.
but nonetheless, it's adds to the overall experience. Okay, so I believe that see within the fashion, if you look at it, accessories where like say always like people they see anywhere and they like it and they'll buy it. It's not necessarily you have to touch it or you have to try it. Okay,
Right.
okay.
Right.
Uh, From that, if you look at the utility garments, okay, they were also people were like say, willing to buy. Okay, the products at the either extreme lower price points or extremely higher price points. Okay,
Right. Right.
so
But the point that you mentioned that, having magic mirror or these kind of technology stuff, uh, I don't, disagree with you that definitely this brings an experience, a great experience at par with whatever is available. But adoption is the main challenge. Means like, even if, there is a technology available, people are still struggling to adopt to it. They would means like I would say that these their old mindset is still becoming an hindrance. 90% of the retail happens offline even today. There are certain categories which have disrupted, but those people, are they going to just go out of business now? The shops are not going to open, and new retailers will come with new mindset. What is your take on that?
yeah, so I think uh, I will just explain how the customer journey, a typical customer journey, has now actually got changed while buying the apparel or the fashion. Okay, see the most ubiquitous or very difficult garment to buy is a sari. Okay,
Okay.
and all married people would be knowing that when you take your spouse to the on the sari buying mission, okay, and if you are going to put like a time clock on it, it's never going to work, right? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's coming from personal experience, even. Okay.
Now this entire sari buying, okay, and has moved to online. Okay. And when I said move to online, it has not moved to any particular marketplace or it's not moved to the particular online stores, but it has moved to the YouTube. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You go to YouTube and Facebook and you will see that at all the times of the day, so many retailers across the country. Okay. Whether you look at South, you look at North, you look at Kolkata, all the leading sari players, okay, their stores may be shut, okay, but their staff or the owner themselves, okay, they are conducting like say sessions. They are going live for hour long, and they are showing their collections, okay, and who are their buyers? Across the age groups. Okay, majority of their buyers don't how they use their they don't work on the laptops and all that. They will use smartphone. Their YouTube is open or Facebook is open where they are seeing that video. If they like a particular sari, they are just taking a screenshot. Okay,
Okay.
and that screenshot they are sending to the WhatsApp number that is mentioned in that video. Okay,
Right.
okay, that so that WhatsApp number belongs to the store owner, the store staff, and the prices, everything are mentioned in the while showing the video, live video, and many times it is becoming like an auction because the owner is saying while showing those sarees, oh, I got only 3 pieces, 5 pieces, and by the time you look at the comments on YouTube or Facebook, they say, oh, it's gone. Okay,
Okay.
and with that, the kind of inventory the retailers have been able to liquidate, that's very surprising. Okay, and during the pandemic, for a lot of at least for women who are like stuck in their houses, not able to venture out, and typical if you look at the shopping as a therapy, okay, then online shopping has become a new therapy. Okay, and here the platform is YouTube and Facebook, which is of choice. Okay. and and I have seen some of the organized retailers taking cue from these smaller retailers, guys. Okay, and now I'm able to like say see that the other day I was looking at one of the French men's brand. Okay, and and they were saying that, oh, you can call us on the YouTube, sorry, WhatsApp, and on WhatsApp video call, we will show you the collection. Okay, and
Okay.
then we deliver you. Okay. Hmm.
That's a innovative and frugal way. I think a lot of retailers who might be watching this webinar and haven't adopted WhatsApp and YouTube as their medium to take their products online. I think that's a really new insight, because when as a technocrat we think to give solutions, we will think of structured solutions. We might say that, okay, if it is a online, then you should set up an e-commerce store. If it is a WhatsApp, you should set up a WhatsApp chatbot. So these things, the moment retailers listen to these words, they say, what is this happening? This might cost me something. And even if the cost is not a concern, adoption is a concern.
Correct, exactly. And secondly, see, in my opinion, anything which gets adopted easily when things are very simple for the users to adopt. Okay,
Right.
and these are the things which people are all anyway doing in their life. Okay,
Right.
India is a WhatsApp country, right? And
Correct.
if you look at that, today, if I go to any one marketplace or any of the e-commerce website, actually speaking, I find all of them looking very similar, having very similar layouts, okay, very similar looking pictures,
Hmm.
okay, uh, and you are not, for example, a product. If you look at again, I will take example of sari because it's one of the most complex products. Okay, it comes in so much of variety, so many textures, so many types. Okay, and and definitely people have different tastes and also occasions related to that. When you go to the some of the major marketplaces or some of the brands, the saris are the way they are shown over there. It is shown as if like you are showing maybe some another like say not so much involved category. Okay,
Right.
okay.
Right.
Uh, it may be a box of maybe a pack of biscuits. Okay. Uh, so whereas sari is such an involved category, it needs to be the product needs to be shown its in its full glory. Okay.
Correct.
The finesse in the product needs to be come out. Okay. Second thing is the interaction between the seller and buyer. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. It's many
That's
times
that's very crucial. That's the key point.
because in the offline retailer, we look at the seller not as just a salesman, but we look at him as also an expert. We ask for his advice. We ask
Correct.
for their suggestions. Okay.
Correct.
इसके ऊपर क्या मैच होगा? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So now, if those kind of a question, okay, uh, if the typical e-commerce website only simply said people who bought this also bought that, okay, that's very very cold. Okay.
Right, right. And many a times, those kind of suggestions make you laugh. I was shopping for, electronics, and it said people who bought this have also bought pair of snacks. I said, wow, this is linked. So sometimes the personalization engine may fail.
Yeah.
And coming to your core strength, you have been consulting and you've been working with consumer experience a lot, and your experience from understanding data, because you are understanding fashion analytics very strong. You work with DMart. I want to ask you one specific question in the tech adoption. What data points must be valued by retailers in today's world? Uh, it's a very generic stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, see, normally what can be measured easily has already been measured. Okay. So those data points, like a transactional data points, everybody is able to capture it. Okay. Okay. So what is not getting captured is like say customer touch points. What is happening at the touch points and how you are able to capture the customer emotion. Okay. Whether it's a comfort, discomfort, whether customer is like say even when they look at certain product, they touch it, feel it, try it, buy it or not buy it. Okay. So each of these interactions, if the people are able to buy it, okay, rather than just talking about, oh, my daily footfall is so much and my sales is so much, so my conversion rate is so much. Okay. That is the typical, like say, in a high street or in the malls, the stores typically count by that. Okay,
Right.
but people very rarely go about like that. Why my conversion rate is not so good? Okay, and that is where people then simply go by saying that, oh, it may be issue of a visual merchandising, it may be issue of some availability, or it may be a wrong target customer who was walking into my store. Okay, so those kind of just they are just, I will say, bahanas. Okay,
Okay.
okay, because it's like there are tough questions to answer. Okay,
Right.
okay, and I think the bar needs to be raised now to look at this customer engagement, customer touch points, whether you are in online or offline. Okay, in online at least there are so many digital trails which are left behind, and there are enough, I will say, tools which are able to capture those digital trails. Okay, how much time you or I were hovering on this particular merchandise, or how many times you went through the details about this, how many reviews you read it, and so on. Okay, but in the store, okay, how you are able to do that? Okay,
Right.
one in the digital channels. If you are getting into, let's say, chat, if you are going to, like say, have maybe a video call with the seller or stuff like that, then getting the what you say, the attributes of those touch or those conversations or those interactions, okay, or engagements, okay, which are which is not hard data, but which are very soft points. Okay, where you are talking about the emotions and tones, and rather than just simply talking about how much time you spent or how much okay, scrolls you did and stuff like that. Okay, because it's not only the amount of interaction or engagement, but it's the quality of the engagement that is going to become important. Okay,
Very true.
and day by day, every consumer is getting more and more time deprived. Okay, all of us have been noticing that even from working from home has been a far more stressful, and one is putting so many more extra hours in on the work. Same thing is happening for everybody, and with a media habits, media fragmentation, and whether you are an online or offline, the consumers time is going to be the most critical element, and how you are able to give them a more return on the time, how much, like say, sale per time consumed by that or spent or invested by that consumer. If you are able to start looking at that, I think those extra data points will help in transforming the stores, transforming the merchandise, and making sure that you are able to develop a much long lasting relationship with your consumers.
With the consumers. Very right, very right. Vinay, it's really so enriching, and we have kept this very short format so that we can only highlight those areas which are concerns of the real retailers, and they can reboot their retail. And I think I loved your sari experience, and how YouTube and WhatsApp can become effective. I think this could be a really big takeaway from the call. Moving to the last section where we have few comments coming on. This is live on our Facebook channel. So I have a question from a gentleman, Morris from Bangalore. He's written down, what is the ROI formula for digital investment? So I don't know whether he's asking about setting up e-commerce, or but very generic one. Is there any ROI formula? Because you said a lot about investors, and you know, I think that's why this might have popped up.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I will suggest that just looking at this as a return on your investment on the digital, you shouldn't look at in a gross level, but it is better to go at the granular level, because the digital is not just one thing, but digital is made up of so many things.
Hmm.
So the digital channel that you have, and within those channels, what kind of engagements you are engineering for your customers to engage with you. So for each of those touch points, for and the kind of interactions or engagements you are designing, for each one of them, you have to keep on measuring the conversion rates, okay, the engagement levels, and having a learning from that, and so that adjust your spend, your investments according to that learning, that will give you a far better ROI than just looking at, oh, something doesn't work. Okay, it's no more. It's not a just black and white, but it's all about continuous shade of a gray, where you keep on learning, and starting making, like say, focusing your investments into what works for you and your consumers.
All right, all right. And we have the, I'll just take one more question, and I think rest we can take it up and reply one to one after this webinar. This is Neha from Pune. She's asking that how digital transformation word can be explained to retailers. I think she comes from somebody from tech background.
Yeah, yes. So I think that's a interesting and again very broad question. Okay, but it's very important that, like say, if you are going to, like say, a kirana guy, kirana shop owner, and tell him, like say, oh, I will do digitally transform your store, and
Right.
you are a tech vendor. Okay, so it is not going to be very easy to say.
It may
Okay,
go away.
and and especially when you are able to tell the customers, or such a retailer, that the digital transformation basically will allow you to get, it's all about getting more customers, incremental customers, getting the customers to actually spend in your store, the incremental increase the spend so that your revenue has an increment because of that, and making sure that you are developing the customer loyalty because of the customer experience that you are generating using the digital tools. Okay.
Correct.
So whether what you stock, how you sell, what promotions you run, okay, how you deliver, all those touch points, okay, how you engage with the
Yeah,
customers.
that's an ocean of data, I think, an ocean of this. I agree to you. This is really interesting because when we reboot the retail, and I've been going to various malls, and because they are our customers, and we see that most of the shops have shut down, and they've actually put up for again leasing. I see that there is a shift that is coming in thinking, and the entire objective of this learning is that, if the existing retailers start thinking on these lines, and they start adopting the things in the most frugal and the most appropriate manner. So we wish that, this pandemic and everything, we all, come out of this thing as a winners, and it is not an individual's job. It's a combined effort of every stakeholder. So
Yeah.
with this, Mr. Vinay, I would like to thank you for sparing your valuable time and coming on to this webinar. We would be, rolling out more webinars every Friday, and I would wish really best of luck for your endeavors that you're doing for your clients and your retailers. So thank you very much, Mr. Vinay.
Thank you, Yogesh. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.